Hello, everyone. I am not Innes. I am being shifted around so that I'm in the host spot, apparently. This is episode 107 of Stat Check. Titanic meta shifts down under and reasons why you need better terrain, which was both of the suggestions for this week's title smashed together with down under between them because I'm lazy and not creative, and therefore I get to do this part of the segment. Yeah, welcome everybody to this week's episode where we talk about whatever just happened in 40K, I suppose. I'm joined by Jeremy and Anthony. Innes is taking a deserved night off. I think he's taking the next couple nights off, actually, and we'll be back eventually based on his schedule. Yeah.
Turns out traveling for both Champs Cup and LGT in back-to-back weekends is a lot of work.
Yeah, turns out that, and then trying to, have any kind of existence outside of that, maybe, maintain a coaching business with clients all around the planet and stuff like that might be hard, just slightly, a little challenging.
Well, also turning out some of the best bonus content we've had in years.
Yes. That man is executing on every idea that comes into his mind, and that's great. I love it.
You guys can give him credit, but I refuse to call going from Scotland to London travel for a tournament.
It's like, what, 3 hours by train?
No. Jesus
Look,
Christ.
I am willing to be like going from one large event full of people to another large event full of people with no like in between kind of being a kind of travel. But I do agree with you, Anthony, that every time I hear something like, I haven't seen my grandfather in a decade. He lives 2 hours away, which is just too far to travel for British people, apparently. I don't know.
I'm going to get roasted for the last time I saw my parents, even though we live in the same city.
Was it over 10 years ago?
Not that long, no.
Okay.
You're not going to get roasted.
Definitely know it was somewhere around the beginning of the year.
Okay. And that's not bad at all. I haven't seen my parents since last year, I think, at some point. I don't know. Yeah. Time's a flat circle. But ostensibly, we are a 40K show and not a travel...
Not a complain about distances show.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's part of 40K.
That is
Complaining
definitely
about
part of the
distances
package.
is part of 40K. Jeremy, how was your weekend?
Mine was pretty good. I played a bit of 40K with a friend on Saturday, I think. I don't actually remember anymore what I did this weekend. I know that I was very chill and largely involved resting a lot because I was just very, very tired. And I want to make sure that I'm actually, somewhat rested going into Champs Cup. So when I come back sleep deprived, I'm not just dying on the flight back.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
No dying. That's like the only rule. The only rule is to not die.
Well, there's a couple of rules, but that's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to come back dead from tournaments. That is one of the rules in this house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the other rule is that you need to come back with the Champions Cup. If there is a cup, I don't know.
I hope there's a cup. I didn't even think about that.
I got one for Cali.
I mean, they're both Corrales' events, so
yeah.
Maybe.
Good odds.
I'm definitely hoping it's like a Stanley Cup sized cup, like a gigantic one.
Yeah.
That reminds me. Before I asked Anthony how's this going, that reminds me the Western Canadian Team Championship that I'm going to 2 weeks after or 3 weeks after this. We actually do have like a little cup that we engrave the team name on every year.
Nice.
Amazing.
All right, Anthony, what have you been up to?
Mostly helping Fox get ready for Champs Cup. That's been pretty much it Warhammer wise. I scattered amounts of coaching, doing stuff where I can. Obviously the busy right before the travel is pretty high, so just doing what I can to be ready for that. Work's required more of my attention lately, so that's been good. Well, good and bad depending on your perspective, I suppose. Good because I'm useful enough to be, doing something.
Good in that you have continued work and you haven't been shuffled off into a corner of some land.
I mean, I would accept that as long as I continue to get paid. I don't have to be important at my job. That's not important to me at all.
I
just want the rent, food, and travel bills to be paid.
Yeah, correct. I don't actually I care very little for what my title is at work.
The paycheck is what's important. It's true.
Correct. How about you, Nathan? What are you up to?
Nothing. No, I'm I replaced the filter in my airbrush station so that I can get back to painting again with it. Is
Nice.
basically what I've done. So that's all done. I grabbed some Thunderwolf Cav to paint just for funsies. That's why it says 3 wolves howling at the space moon for the title this
Perfect.
week.
Right on time for them to get legends.
I know. It'll be really funny when they get legends right after I paint them.
Yeah.
I also got the Skaventide box, and so I was also considering converting like the cavalry from that into Thunderwolf riders, basically. I don't know. It's really easy to convert cooler models than the existing ancient Thunderwolf cavalry sculpt at this point. They're not that.
Also, anything other than Space Wolves riding other Space Wolves would be pretty good for their
for their brand.
Their modeling. I said.
Okay.
I don't know if I just like went out.
It actually just sounded like it would just be better then, and then just kept going.
Yeah.
Wow. I am the herald of nerfdom. I did. Every time I start playing something, and I'm so slow at it that eventually they get nerfed before I get to play.
Have you been working on Sisters for a little while?
I have been.
They're
primed and mostly zenithalled. I don't know. One of these days I'll get a job that doesn't like destroy my free time entirely, and then I'll be able to paint things.
I don't think that's true.
It's true. One day I'll be able to pay other people to paint my armies.
There you go. Now you're getting it.
The true goal is to pay somebody else to do it, because I saw Typhus's like basically like museum piece sisters and was like, I would just cart all of my painting stuff into a tiny corner and instead just pay somebody else to do this.
Yeah.
It feels a lot better.
If you were just paid appropriately for the power of your science man brain.
That's not how any of this works, unfortunately. I wish.
Well, it does, just not in...
not currently. Not in academic science.
Not in academic science.
I mean, I'm just hoping the biotech market improves a little bit. I'm on like application 120 or something like that.
Yeah, normal stuff.
It's bad. It's bad. But yeah, 40K I've played a little bit of on the side. I've been mostly looking at Age of Sigmar stuff because I've got this Skaventide box.
Gross.
It is what happens. Innes is asking a question. Innes, you might as well just be on the show if you're gonna like banter with us via
no. He needs to have
money.
He needs to have a break. He can do what Anthony did last week.
Anthony, for what play me invitational LGT?
I think you should play ACDC.
Innes should play
Deceptors.
No.
No one on the stat check crew can play that until after Anthony's played it at a GT.
I don't know. Let me think about that. I'll have an answer for that by the time we get to show questions.
Cool. So you have to watch all the way to the end, Innes, to get your question answered like a normal person.
There you go.
It won't be right at the end, though, because then he could just skip through. It'll be answered at some point.
Yeah,
we're not going to tell you
questions.
At some point eventually.
By Brian's orcs. Oh, God.
That's the best. And at the same time he does it, Seth cashes in on the Innes has to be nice about orcs for 24 hours.
Oh no!
Just fucking 1-2 his ass. He has to play him and be nice about it.
I'm gonna go message Seth.
Boom.
You should. There you go.
That's how we do it. All
right, let's switch gears from not talking about Nathan's lack of hobbying into stats about 40K. Instead, I don't know. One day I'll play at a GT and win again. I don't know, but not today. All right. Last week's numbers are both surprising and not surprising. Hence the title of this week's show. I'm pretty sure people could predict who the top performing faction of the week is.
Yeah, it's Chaos Knights, right?
It is not.
Oh, what?
They are third from the bottom.
Oh.
It's Thousand Sons by win rate, although they're not that far ahead of Gene Stealer, Colton, Adeptus Mechanicus. So maybe this week is weird. I don't know.
This week is just genuinely weird when you look at that top 5.
So we're just gonna say this is a weird week, and I'm just gonna keep going with my life. It's really kind of making me feel like October, like Halloween decorations already being up in stores, is like the top 5 factions, because most of them are horror related factions. So it's great. In first place is Thousand Suns, 20 players, 3.2% of the meta. There's also just not that many players this weekend in the grand scheme of things. And a 57.5% win rate. They got one event win, which is their top 4, and then 6 top 10s for a 0.65 over rep. In second, Gene Stealer Colts, 9 players. So just kind of scooting in by dint of not a lot of players this weekend. A 57.4% win rate, a single top 4, 5 top 10s, and a 1.45 over rep. In the third place, Adeptus Mechanicus, 11 players, 57.4% win rate, 2 top 4s, which are their 2 top 10s for a 2.37 over rep. You know, spicy.
Like,
In
fourth, what the hell?
I know. And then in fourth place, a Death Guard, 2.9% of the meta, 18 players, a 56.6% win rate, 2 top 4s, 4 top 10s, and a 1.45 over rep. And then rounding out the top 5 is Grey Knights, 15 players, 2.4%, a 54.5% win rate, 3 top 4s, and 9 top 10s for a 1.22. So I guess, you know, just a smattering of factions. The only one that makes sense is Thousand Suns, and that's
I love how,
it.
aside from Thousand Suns, no one else in the top 5 won an event.
I mean,
Sisters did. Oh, well, yeah, from a win rate perspective. Sorry.
Yeah, Sisters are down at number 8 for win rate.
yeah, I mean, it's just like low event participation week shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there were over 600 players this weekend, so it's not like low. It's more that like the couple armies that no one's really playing. Right? Yeah.
It's low compared to like last week or the last couple of weeks, I think.
Yeah, it's down about 100 players from the last couple of weeks. But the really fun part about it is that it's more that like win rates have just kind of squished.
It's also true.
Because like your top is Thousand Suns of 57.5. Your bottom is Imperial Agents, but they're not real.
There's only 4 people playing that faction. It's not real, and it cannot hurt you.
Hey, that's only 5 less than Gene Stealer Cult.
I will say, though, that the worst faction in the game, because we're going to go on the bottom 5 real quick, is Space Marines. Just basic book Space Marines. 22 players, 3.5% of the meta, 38.3% win rate, 1 top 4 for an 0.59. And then Orcs, 32 players, 5.1%. People still trying to make that work. I won't lie. 5.1% is one of the top factions by meta representation, a 41.7% win rate, but a 0 for overrep because I got no placings.
That sounds right.
And then Black Templars, 17 players, 2.7%, 44.7% win rate, 2 top 4s, 3 top 10s, and a 1.53 for overrep. And then World Eaters, 34 players, 5.4% of the meta, a 45.5, and then 5 top 10s, which means they get a 0 over rep because they didn't manage to convert any of those into top 4s. And then rounding out the bottom 5 is Blood Angels, 5.1% of the meta, 46.8% win rate. They did get an event win, 2 top 4s, 2 top 10s for a 0.82. Yeah, our other event winners are Chaos Space Marines, who had a 47.4% win rate. Custodes, who won an event with a 50% win rate. Imperial Knights won 2 events with a 50%
Their first 2 of Pariah.
And a 2.42 over rep, because they also got 5 top 4s and 8 top 10s this weekend, which is
given that they actually had 27 players, they made up over 4% of the meta. That's actually a real number for once.
They actually did better than Sisters from a placings perspective, 258 instead of 257. Our other event winners are Astra Militarum, who picked up 2 event wins and a 50.8% win rate. Necrons picking up a single event win and a 51.1. Sisters continuing to win events at a rapid pace, 52.6% win rate, 2 event wins, 5 top 4s, 7 top 10s. And then Leagues of Votan picking up their 2nd or 3rd event win of Pariah, 0.54 over rep and a 53.5% win rate for them.
A Votan win is crazy.
That list is so much fun.
It is definitely something else just to like look at. We are now at the point where there's only one faction that doesn't have any event wins in Pariah, and it is Orcs.
Edge.
Because we don't count Imperial Agents as a faction yet. They have 7 players total so far. But Death Watch even did have an event win and during Pariah Nexus as kind of a last hurrah a couple weeks ago. So
Okay.
at this point, though, looking at the overall stats, I'm going to sort this by win rate and it will let me do it. Okay, there we go. We do have essentially a top 5 made up of Drukari with a 57.6% win rate in 9 event wins, Thousand Sons at a 57.1% win rate in 9 event wins, Sisters at a 56.1% win rate and 19 event wins. So we've gone back over the top 2 factions by event wins combined is equivalent to Sisters. And then Space Wolves at a 55.4 with 5 event wins, and then Blood Angels at a 52.6 with 7 event wins. It's the top 5 at the moment.
Solid.
Chaos Space Marines are only at a 45.9% win rate, but have 10 event wins. So they are doing just fine, apparently, if you ignore win rate, which is good. They're also a perfect 1 for overrep, so they're like perfect. They're just perfectly balanced. They're in the balanced window.
My favorite is looking at the numbers for CSM and looking at the faction breakdown for that army.
Definitely.
Like if you break it into the different like detachments, like Dread Talons is sitting at like a 30% win rate for Pariah, while Chaos Cult is at a 72% win rate.
I mean, Chaos Cult doesn't get played a lot. That detachment's very strong. It's not 72% win rate strong, but it is good.
I mean, we might as well just share this, I suppose. Yeah. So this is the metadata dashboard at stat-check.com/the-meta, which just got updated today.
Yeah.
To be current with this last week's stats. So you can see all this breakdown stuff here in front of you as well. So this is what Jeremy is talking about with the Chaos Space Marines. If you're watching, Chaos Colts at a 70%, 4.28 overrep, and 2 of the event wins. It's fine. It's mostly because there's like 14 people playing it, which is basically nothing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, those 14 people, 2 of them won their events. So, oh boy.
Renegade Raiders at that 49 and a 1.18. And then 7 of the event wins for that faction are Renegade Raiders.
Makes sense.
I think some of the event wins are missing from Sisters. That's something I'll deal with later.
17.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Chaos Space Marines, that's one example. I think, definitely people have kind of probably slept on Chaos Cult a little bit even now. But who knows? And then, Sisters data, when you break it out, it's basically just all Bringers of Flame with a 58% win rate. And 15 of their event wins are Bringers of Flame, which is basically all of them.
All but 2, I think.
All but 2. 1 in Army of Faith. Well, they have 19 now, and I think there's a couple missing from this, but we'll take a look at it later. 1 from Army of Faith and 1 from Howl of Martyrs. But basically the whole player population is playing Bringers of Flame at this point.
Fast gun good.
Fast gun good.
Yeah. Not
Fast gun where you don't have to roll dice is good.
There it is. A lot of armies have fast guns.
Are you trying to tell me that better than Eldar levels of control over your dice results is good?
I mean, Eldar would have to pay 700 points for a triumph.
True.
Maybe Sisters can pay 700 points for a triumph.
They
apparently
should.
We're all sleeping on Real Space Raiders, which has a 65% win rate and a 2.99 over rep, with 30% of its players going 4-0 and a 1 event ban.
I love it because that's not even the Scary effect, because Scary is on Sky Splinter.
I am somewhat confident that I could beat a 2K Real Space and Sky Splinter list at the same time with 2K of Bringers.
That is... maybe?
I'm like fairly confident. I don't even think it would be particularly hard. You definitely can beat them with persistent casualties if you had to play them back to back.
Persistent casualties maybe, but I don't think like 4,000 points of them activating and then 2,000 points of you activating would end very well.
I don't think that they would get first drop because they're Drukari. I think the Sisters that move 1100 would probably get first tap, which would mean there would be about 2,000 points of Drukhari after they were done, because you can't hide 4,000 points of Drukhari.
Fair
Reasonable.
point.
Yeah, at the very bottom, Space Marines and then Orcs. Orcs being that lone 0 for GT wins.
Sucks to suck.
Closest thing that they're doing is some people are still playing Green Tide, which has a 49% win rate.
I like how Green Tide has the best results of all of those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, none of them have meaningful results.
true.
It's just, they're just all bad of mildly varying degrees.
Yeah, I mean, Green Tide has no top 4s. The Big Hunt has some. Warhorde and Dread Mob each have some, and then Bully Boys still managed at least some top 4 placements of some kind.
Yeah, Orcs stats are looking real. Would you rather get kicked in your left or right testicle right now? Like, yeah, dude, go nuts, whatever one,
You know, why
Help
not?
yourself out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that army needs some fundamental buffs to get it back into contention. So does Space Marines, probably just basic book Space Marines, because all of the win percentage is up here.
No. Space Marines don't need shit. Space Marines need to not have all the good players self-select into the factions that have the only benefit. That's literally the only reason. Space Marines will always look terrible in our stats so long as they remain separate from the chapter agnostic ones that bring only benefit to the Space Marine players. There's literally no reason to play them.
I'm
That's
kind of
true.
curious. If we filter by top 5% elo, what is space? Oh, never mind.
Do they even have games there?
4 games.
Oh, shock! Not even a full event, by the way.
But
We
remember,
only track-
this is top 5 into top 5. A lot of others don't have that. But actually, the numbers are. Oh, I know why. Because I'm just filtering prior 1-1. Let's add in prior 1.
Yeah, Space Marines have 17 players in that bracket with a 26% win rate and an event win.
Yep.
Which is real bad.
Who the fuck did
that?
It's probably Kevin playing Ironstorm.
Or
like Sasha playing something
weird. It is mostly Ironstorm. It's 46% Ironstorm, which is 7 players.
Yeah, the win was as Gladius, for what it's worth.
Yeah, the win is with Gladius, which is probably Ultramarines Gladius.
Yep, again, reasonable.
Space Marines. 6
But yeah, I think this is something we talked about and something we guested on and just got released, Jeremy and I, when we talked about doing a faction tier list with Art of War Down Under.
Yeah.
All of the Space Marines that are doing well are just not basic Space Marines. They are, as Anthony said, the Space Marines plus cool shit that makes them better. So Blood Angels, Black Templars, Space Wolves.
Yeah. For want of a downside for the chapter snowflake ones, or for an upside for remaining, codex compliant or whatever you want to call it, this will always be how it is.
Yep.
Until Calgar is better than Azrael, this will be how this works.
It is also really interesting to look at this top 5% elo. It's not a fuck ton of games, except for Sisters, who have 72 players in the top 5%.
Very good army.
Top 5% into their peers. Yeah.
Good player participation rate.
Yeah, those DAs get nutted. You know that for a fact. Like, they're too good right now.
Dark Angels? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Dark Angels is like, I don't know. I actually have a hard time saying that Dark Angels are like all the way broken.
I'm not saying they're broken. I'm just saying that they could use some adjustments.
Yeah, I think Dark Angels are too good.
I think we can agree that Deathwing Knights are too cheap.
Yeah, sure. But I don't think like basically anything else on that DA Gladius list is like egregious. I think JPIs are probably too cheap just because they are.
But that's a General Marine problem, not a Dark Angels problem.
Just turn your eye away from every Blood Angel list if you don't want to see JPIs being too cheap. Like, they're just too cheap, and that's okay.
It's really interesting to look over at the quartiles into peer win rate, because this is where you kind of see some of the stuff exacerbated quite a bit. At the bottom, you have Orcs who are almost off the fucking grid.
I think you could add fucking 15% to the Orc win rate by putting the Wa on their command phase and touch literally nothing else.
I don't think that would quite get there, but it would get real close.
It would put them directly into acceptable. They would immediately become entirely fine. Just give them some agency.
Maybe, I'm just thinking right now, You could probably revert half of the green tide nerfs.
Or just leave them. Just leave them in and give them the wah. Like, it's so dumb. Oh, and revert that stupid FAQ about war bosses, but whatever. Like,
Oh
that
yeah,
was...
but that's just a like. Why did you put that in the FAQ when you could have just rewritten the section and
correct. Yeah, that was
made
dumb.
it right? Give orcs one turn of tactical doctrine. I don't think orcs are known for falling back, and then charging back in.
I don't
Isn't
know.
their whole thing getting stuck in?
No, it's like orcs is never beaten, right? They never lose a fight because sometimes they leave and come back again, and then they win that one.
Yeah, when you do add all the numbers together for the whole of Pariah, it does look fairly tight, at least for the most part, which is something we've talked about quite a bit. But yeah, all the sisters are in the experienced pilot required quadrant at the moment.
I mean, the win rate's always going to be decent in Pariah because we're functionally playing with a double turn. I would wager that the effect of going second in Pariah is roughly as strong, if not stronger, than the rate of getting a double in AOS.
That'd be interesting to take a look at. I think somebody asked that question a little bit later. Something actually I think you could expand on a little bit later with a question that somebody asked.
Yeah, I'm like fairly confident that that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely are seeing a squeeze, which we talked about a lot with Age of Sigmar, being that the possibility of a double turn also squeezes the win rate closer to 50%. It's entirely possible that that's the same effect we're seeing here, where we're getting a squeeze towards 50.
Yep. You'll get a squeeze towards 50 when the missions are badly designed. Rock, paper, scissors usually has a 50% win rate too.
Depends. But yes, I agree. Yeah. That's going to be enough stats for the moment. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that everybody doesn't have to stare at my hugely confusing grid thing. But yeah, if you want to go take a look at that, you can go to stat-check.com/the-meta. You can poke around at all the various things. All I did to change kind of the stats there that we were looking at was add in the totality of Pariah Nexus, which includes the pre-Imperial Agents release, essentially.
Yep.
And it definitely contributes to kind of the feeling that we're currently in calm waters or becalmed waters. We're a ship in the middle of the ocean with no wind.
Yeah. We just need
because the game is
stagnating.
Yeah, the game is quite stale at the moment, which, can't do anything about it. Maybe the slate at the end of September and October will jazz things up a bit. Who knows?
I'm really excited for us to get the Blood Angel Codex proper in like December or whatever the roadmap said. That shit was amazing.
I really hope that roadmap was just misrepresenting things, but also like with there being nothing else, even when it comes out, it's still going to just be like, what the fuck is going on?
It's so funny, dude.
Yes, Innes, I will plug the Art of War Down Under episode now. Fine. I plugged it a little bit earlier when I mentioned that we were on it. All right. So going live today was the Art of War Down Under episode where Jeremy and I, and then Adam put together a faction tier list based on stats. So we shoved together all the stats from Pariah and updated the faction tier list. So if you want to go see us riff about factions and the tiers that they're at and the lack currently of an S tier, go watch that show. And then watch the second part, which is mostly just us vamping about nothing.
Nice.
Yeah, go watch
it. It was a fun time. It's always fun talking about the meta. It's Adam's a gem, but also it's very much like, as you're saying, like everything's kind of getting squished in a little bit. Part of it's mission design, part of it's the meta's been somewhat stable for the last few months.
This is a long way from now, though,
Jeremy,
when you think
you're
about
not
it
allowed
in
to do that.
I hope they just outright give Eldar a double turn. That would be sick. Combine all the complaints together.
Just their army rule is Soul Burst.
Yeah.
Go back to Soul Burst,
Not even Soul Burst, just like again. Just like their turn ends and they go again, and then that happens. They can do it once per game.
Can the rule be again?
Sure, it's the Harlequin rule.
You must shout again. I still want the Harlequin's rule to be anti-fate dice, where you substitute a fate die for somebody else's role. Being like,
I want to be the Emperor's Children format.
No,
that.
the Harlequin rule is going to be called Encore, and it's going to give them a double turn.
That would be funny.
Which
once per
stacks with
game
the
double
Eldar
turn.
double turn.
No, just like
Oh,
it's
so
only
3
the Harleys
turns in a
get it.
row.
Yeah, only the Harleys get it.
See, if it was only the Harlequins and they didn't update their data sheets, that would probably be okay.
No, it wouldn't. Have you ever played Sigmar and gone twice?
No, actually, I've never been the person who gets to go twice in a row in Sigmar.
It's fucked up. It's real bad.
Encore would have to be on the third turn. Olair Iyer says.
It's actually on the
theme.
It's actually on the 5th turn. You have to play a whole nother game of 40k.
Yeah.
Oh God. Stage
Innis would never
performance.
lose
Harlequins
another-
can always choose to win or lose the roll for first turn. Oh,
I think
please no.
if you stapled another 5-turn game to the front 5-turn game, I don't think Innis would ever lose it with that army because he'd be the only person that could play 10 turns in a clock.
You're not wrong.
You're like, I'm just gonna stage here for 2 turns while you try to play your game.
You have to play again after 5. Bam. That's how Lennon gets his best 2 or 3. He would also be undefeated.
He'd play
Can't scam him
6
twice.
He'd play 6 games of 40k thanks to that.
Yeah.
Amazing. All right. I do. Nobody wants to play Eldar twice in a row. That's, you know what? Okay. Since we talked about it a little bit, why don't you expand a little bit about how the current mission design can feel like double turn from Age of Sigmar?
It doesn't feel the same, just like at all. When a double turn happens in Sigmar, at least it has the good grace to end the game immediately. The thing with going second in Pariah Nexus is that, or going first rather, is if your army's not built to do like the jail and fuck them up thing, when you go first, you basically are just like, all right, well, my opponent gets 40 points of primary and is scoring 90 or so points. How do I stop that from happening? And you're put in the like make decisions, make the game happen driver's seat right away. And some armies can't do that in some matchups. So they just lose them, with very little of that being player input. Now, is it always like that? No. Is it like that way more often than it should be? Yeah. And that's kind of the situation we're in right now. A combination of like secret missions, tactical being the only viable option but worse, and all of the mission changes just broadly kind of narrows us into this space where it's like, did you go second? Dude, sick. Did you go first? Get fucked. And that's it.
I still love this because there is an entry in show questions to say asking exactly why Innis and I have better go first win rates than go second win rates.
Yeah, because you're playing fucking Votan lately anyway, and he's playing.
I mean, for
fucking
most of I've been
GSC.
playing T-Suns, so
Yeah, well, you just have your T-Sun's win rate is just whatever you write in the page. It doesn't even matter. my win rate is yes, I am winning the games as Thousand Suns.
All right, Jeremy, what is your win rate? Like, just put it out.
For Pariah,
Yeah.
it is. Give me a second. I actually opened up Tabletop Battles as we were talking about this because I was curious. Where the frick? Oh, this isn't in order. There's Pariah. Yeah, it's 87% go first, 81% go second.
Yep.
And if I filtered just to T-Suns, which is, yes, hilariously my second most played army, this it was 90% go first, 80% go second. The
Very
vast
good.
majority of those games were played with the Mutalith list, so take what
Yeah.
you want out of that.
Yeah. The list that has giant monsters is good at going first and is built to do so. It's why I actually think the Deceptors list is going to be fine. Because, like, going first with that list means the opponent is, essentially gets frozen for a turn. It's just like, no actions. Stop it. You get to do nothing this turn. And if it goes second, it's going second in Pariah, and that can only be so bad.
Yeah, you're not too far off. Let's see if Curse Cultists survive.
I'm not playing any. I have 0 in my current list.
Really?
Yep.
Just
When did you
Legionaries and Cultists? Another trash?
I mean, not even that many Legionaries. 10 Legionaries.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. The trick with playing a bad detachment is you don't try and use its synergy.
It's T-Sun's a good army. I couldn't tell when I was getting my skull caved in by 3 mutalisks.
Yeah.
I mean, I got my skull caved in by those same 3 mutalisks at that event, Jeremy.
So I guess what you're talking about when you talk about kind of list design and being able to go first, you need something to either cage your opponent in, like Thunderwolf Cavalry that can go all the way across the board and pin your opponent in place, or you need infiltrators who can also do the same thing effectively.
It doesn't have to be like an infiltrating unit. You just need something that enables your army to remain good if you go first. Okay. And that's it. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I'll go second and it'll be fine, because then if you go first, you just get fucked. That doesn't work. Yeah. It's very easy to win the game right now going second. You need the ability to do so going first.
Yeah, just go first and table them.
That works.
Try playing bringers.
That, again, totally works. As it turns out, the armies with really high win rates right now have ways to do that. I can't explain Drukhari. But the rest of them have reasonable ways of being like, I went first, game's over.
Well, we had the Drukhari discussion. What was it? Last week or the week before?
I don't know, the last time I was on.
So 2 weeks ago, I think.
It's entirely possible you had it while I wasn't here as well, and it was just like slightly less mean to them. But
I will admit that I continue to be a little confused by that army doing so well. Mostly because it's just so delicate. Like, every transport is basically built around the idea that a 5-up invulnerable save will protect it.
It doesn't even have that. It has 6-up invulnerable save.
Oh, you're right. A 6-up invulnerable save.
But it's just going to say. And you can have a 4-up on one thing.
Yeah. If you've been playing against 5-up invulnerable save Drukhari, that might explain their win rate.
Everybody's forgetting the new invulnerable saves on transports and only remembering the old invulnerable saves on transports.
Yeah.
Sure, every transport is a random dark lance, but those transports are still like 90 points for what is effectively tissue paper protecting a very, very scantily clad army.
You can, if you get the Hunter Killer through, a Castigator will kill 3 Drukhari transports at the same time.
Yep.
I love that.
I think that's 3 Venoms, not 3 Raiders.
I mean, you'll kill the Raider if the battle cannon goes at the Raider, and the other 2 are Venoms.
Yes.
It's 3 transports.
More. No, Brian, we need to get your sisters nerfed.
You want us to talk about orcs? Okay. Orcs are bad.
I don't even think orcs are that bad. I just think they could be a lot better, and they're suffering as a surprise.
I do like the idea of switching of flipping the wall to being command phase, because
just give them that.
Battle round makes no sense.
Just give them that. Wait and see. I think you can do that with orcs, and it would be fine.
Probably fix the transport shenanigans with their warlord, with their war bosses, because that bit's just dumb.
Yeah, that's dumb. Whatever. Fix those 2 things. Either way, though, I'm pretty sure that would solve most of it.
You could probably undo some of the green tide nerfs if you really wanted to. That's probably about
just
it.
Say that like 15 minutes ago.
I don't think that matters, but if it makes the people playing green tide more likely to play them, then sure, because I love to play against green tide, so go nuts.
I will also say that the orc participation rate hasn't declined like humongously. There's still plenty of orc players playing orcs, even while orcs are not particularly good.
All right,
they suffered.
Willow, I'll give you a Willow Weeks post in the chat saying make it call in either player's command phase. If you want to do that, then it only lasts for that turn.
Oh God, no! Do it that way.
That's gross. Don't do that. Yeah, let them call it in every command phase.
Sure,
why not?
I just like orcs are like most of the way to a decent army. They just need like some changes, and I think that would fix again most of it.
All right.
Whatever way you wish for, Willow.
What are some adjustments then to other factions that we kind of would want moving forward, whether balanced or unbalanced?
We talked orcs. What can we do to Imperial agents to make them good?
You could just let people acquire the models and play them. We can probably just wait a little bit.
Yeah. To be fair, they are actually not really dealing with any supply issues. Like most, I think even the web store still has.
I'm just saying, like, you know, there's a bit of.
I get what you're saying. Like, actually hobby up all of
that.
Yeah.
Nobody really owns that many space police or rogue trader entourages or Imperial Navy.
Breacher. I do love that the combat patrol is just 20 police.
Yeah, just give them like a bit of time to like, you know, get up and running and stuff, and we'll go from there. I don't like
Death Watch can stay dead. They aren't a real army anymore.
They can be the Dead Watch. Hey. Oh man, that's the new title for this week's episode in a second. Sorry.
Dead watch.
I'm not actually going to change it to that. I just like threatening to change
No, that's
the
next
title
week's episode
repeatedly.
when we don't win.
Oh god, please don't put that energy in the universe, bud. You can't do that.
This is going to be way different and less draw heavy than your usual Canadian team experience, Jeremy.
Right, my usual Canadian team experience is we don't draw.
I feel
It's just when we go to Europe,
like
we
that
can't-
was
we
a
can't do
very
anything.
unveiled insult, and I enjoyed it. I mean, a quarter of the team is Canadian.
Yeah. And we balance that with the other quarter being Polish.
It's true.
And then the
Very
middling middle
offset.
is American and
Scottish.
Belgian and Scottish.
Yeah.
At least they have good beer.
Debatable sometimes with America, but that's okay.
I was gonna let that go, but okay.
Yeah.
All right, what can we do to Blood Angels don't need to be discussed because they have a whole new book coming and their points are going to decide everything.
Soon PM.
Yeah.
They're actually right there.
Ooh.
Nice. I have resisted the urge.
Nope. That is probably what I'm playing once we get the next MFM. Because I'm sure that World Eaters will come out, and depending on if their win rate is still high, I will either lose my spawn unit or keep it. Yay! Not much to change in that list
Maybe you get
anymore.
fundamental rules changes again that break your army.
Perhaps.
Why not? That's the spice of life, is watching see where GW throws the dart for World Eaters. Still good, or oopsies, and
I mean,
watch.
it's just like 1970, 2K, back and forth.
Yeah, the army won't fundamentally change until their codex comes out.
Yep. So I'll play with
And
the
even
one
then,
that
it
has a
might not
codex for a bit.
change.
Yeah.
It has very much been spin the wheel of surprises to figure out if an army actually meaningfully changed in their codex.
Yeah.
What can we do to Tyranids? Do they really need any changes?
Please don't buff them. I played Tyranids the other night.
I don't think they need any buffs.
Dude, I played Tyranids the other night, and it was like fucked up how many monsters I played like an 11 monster crusher list, and it was like, what is this?
Did you lose to it?
I played as it.
Oh, you played as it.
Yeah.
I heard I played into it, and I was like, okay, but did it beat you?
No, let's not get carried away. Like I was, I was playing against someone that wanted a NIDS rep because they'd never seen them before, and Crusher was what we took to WTC, and I just reduced the chaff count in the WTC list and put more monster in because you only really need lictors and spore mines in that army. And then if you can bump the meaningful monster count up, you might as well. That army's fucking stupid. The oh, you didn't hurt me, lots of OC, all you hurt me, everyone hits on twos is like, all right, I guess we could do this.
I do definitely want to try the old One Eye plus Carnifexes thing. Just seems kind of neat. I don't know.
Yeah, you can do that.
Seems neat every time. Yeah,
That's cool.
I won't lie, that Crusher plus monsters does sound fun.
Crusher is just you don't have to, there's no synergy. You just take your big stupid blocks and you put them in places.
I'm okay with that. It doesn't need to be synergy to just put every large monster on table.
Yeah, but fleet needs you gotta pay attention to your auras and manage the game a lot more reasonably.
Crusher doesn't have that. Crusher has I put monster online and you don't kill and you die.
Yeah.
I shoot rupture cannon at you and see if I roll good or not today.
Overwatching
Rupture cannon being changed to D6 plus 6 damage was
it's the best.
It's so
the
great.
Best.
It is the most reliable anti-tank in that army. Let's be honest though.
It's dope. I love that.
Take a wound, suddenly you're hitting on twos all the time.
Yeah.
Hey. Cool 2-goal snapdrags there. Are we just talking about orc vehicles again?
You can't make harpies good again. Stop that.
Aircraft holding objectives is OP, yes.
Someone had that idea with Storm Ravens and Gilliman in Ironstorm.
That's
You switch it to his thing that gives everyone +1 OC.
Stop taking Gilliman. What are we doing?
All right, who's the next not suffering faction that we need to make changes to? Thousand Sons? Thousand Sons is a faction that needs some changes. Or
Legends them.
I mean,
put them in Legends till they get a codex. Try again. You failed. Give them a new index detachment like Drakari and get rid of the other one. That's how you change Thousand Sons.
I mean, that might work. The problem is their army rule is still really good.
I make it worse. Doombolt kills you when you roll a 1. It does D3 on a
That's what it should do.
5, and on a 6.
The fact that Doombolt doesn't have a fail point is very funny and never stops annoying opponents.
Yeah.
If Doombolt didn't do D3, if Doombolt did D3 plus 3 mortal wounds to the caster on a 1, that would be great. I would be amazed.
A 2 through 5 should be D3, and then a 6 should be D6 minus 2. Fuck you.
D6 minus 2. What are we doing?
It does 0 on a 2.
Yeah. It does nothing. Eat shit.
I like that version of it just because it's funny.
Yeah.
All right.
God, I hate
so
that.
actually, here's an actual one that probably needs to be adjusted. Grey Knights. What do we do to them? I mean, T-Suns do too. Don't get me wrong about that. They actually do need to be adjusted. I just don't know how to do it.
Grey Knights don't need to be changed at all. Secret missions need to be nerfed. That's it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm biased. Like, the armies I play are fine into them, so it's like hard for me to have like a.
I mean, yes, the armies you play are very fine into them.
It's not like crazy advantaged, but like it's hard to
battle line from Terminators. You know what? That might do it right there.
Sure. Again, just nerf secret missions, and that doesn't matter. I would bet money that Grey Knights that have to play a normal adjacent primary game are just like entirely fine.
Secret missions down to 10 points.
No,
might actually do it.
Secret missions score you secondary points. That's how you fix that.
But still caps your primary at 20?
Yep. And you can score it after you choose to take it still. All the same on that.
You can still score 80 points. Or 70 points, because primary is 50. Secrets lock you on primary at selection. That would be a change I would actually be happier with.
I don't think that's going to fix it just at all, but
it makes a bigger impact because it fixes the I've scored 0 primary. I'm going to do a secret mission and score 40.
Oh, it makes it better, but it's not going to fix it.
I think secret missions just need to go back to the drawing board is like the truth of it. Like
I mean, I would rather they were worse than Gambits, but like I'm not going to get that wish, so
I think Gambits were fine.
I mean, they could be at Gambit level. I will accept them being equally good as Gambit. I was going to say,
like, there's probably a happy medium in between there where you would also accept them.
Probably not. I'm just going to be mad about them.
Innis is proposing for just like all of the teleporting armies is no uppy downy turn 1 at all. It doesn't matter if you go first or second. Just don't allow any reserves to come in turn 1. Just be done with it.
It's not a matter of reserves not coming in turn 1. I think it's that you can't pull anything off the board turn 1.
There you go. That would do it.
Because there are some like enhancements and whatnot that are very rare but do allow for turn 1 like ingresses and deep strikes. And I think those are fine because they're very restrictive. Whereas a lot of the uppy downies is just like, and you could actually just write it that you can't remove things off the board turn 1. Done.
I don't know.
I mean, that would probably do it as well. Yeah.
Again, a lot of these like uppy downy armies surged in win rate and power after secret missions came out. It's not like they're just like innately insane.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how we think about what their approach.
Yeah, but Hypercrypt was insane because they were released Necrons with no competitors when they came out, right? And they weren't even that crazy even then. They got a significant bump from secret missions. And Grey Knights were also just not that crazy before and are much better now.
Yeah, the thing is that like Hypercrypt isn't really that crazy right now.
Okay, so why are we getting rid of this? It just doesn't matter. Like, we're trying to nerf the wrong things.
That's fair. I guess it comes down to what we think the most likely approach from GW would be in this situation.
Yeah. I will say the one change that Innis did mention a little bit earlier up is go back to not being able to move after you come in from reserve.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that shit is nonsense. But I've just accepted that that's, part of 10th. So I can't do any of that shit, by the way. Like, I get none of the, 10th isms in World Leaders. You don't get Lone Op. You don't get
I was going to say, at least 2 of your armies do.
Not this one. That one. That one gets all of them.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It doesn't move after it comes in from reserve, actually. Well, unless you count charging, but everyone can do that.
Yeah, I was more thinking of your sisters.
I haven't played them. They're still just on my living room table.
Everywhere you go in Anthony's apartment is just a painted army somewhere.
There's a lot of painted
not
models.
Far off.
Yeah.
All right. What's next on our list?
Next summer. No, we have at least another almost 2 years of 10th, I would wager.
Another 2 years?
21 months.
Okay.
If it comes out in June 2 years from now, then
Yeah. I mean, I guess part of it is I wonder if we stick to the 3-year cycle or not, or if we
they
move
stuck
off
through
the 3-year
COVID.
cycle.
If they could just stick to it, but be cool. Like if 11th could just be like 10.5, that'd be
Kind of like the 8th to 9th transition.
Yeah. Maybe a little less dramatic even than that.
I don't think the 8th and 9th was that dramatic.
Yeah, I know.
The most dramatic part of it was the ITC format dying, which was wonderful.
Yeah. True.
All right. What needs to change for Space Wolves? I don't know. I'm out of thought.
Make it so they can't take Stormlancer, that every Space Wolf unit costs extra points if they're not in a Space Wolf detachment.
Oh, I don't think that super matters at all. I think people just need to put melee units in their army. That's the fastest track to stopping Space Wolves, right? Again, none of the armies I play have even a vague issue with Space Wolves. Just put the melee units in your armies, folks.
And then what of the multitude of things need to change for Sisters at this point?
Fuck.
I like how Anthony stalls out. He's like, I don't know.
It's where do you start with them?
You give them the exact same restrictions on Miracle Dice that Eldar have with Fate Dice. And the Triumph doesn't give you a Miracle Dice. Period.
I've got a better idea, actually. They can keep the current way of using them, but you can never have more than 4 Miracle Dice in your pool.
No, because they would just sit there with 4 6s. What?
But then, right now, they can get so many more, and it forces them back to the. And I agree, get rid of the 6 from the Triumph. That's fine.
No, it doesn't matter at all. They're just gonna slam 6s into your forehead. They're just gonna get rid of the shit ones.
You have to decide whether you're.
You don't have to decide. You'll just keep the bad ones.
Hear me out here. You can only have 4. The Triumph doesn't generate 1 anymore, and when you go to generate a new one, you have to decide which one from your pool you're getting rid of before you see the value on the new one.
Can you just not generate the new one?
You can choose to not generate a new one, but if you have 4 4s showing, do you want to get rid of a 4 with the opportunity of getting a 1? No more than 1 dice of each kind at a time is probably the best way to do it.
Just make them Eldar. Why? We already have a system for
make them just roll.
It's funnier if they're better than Eldar because it makes Eldar players sad.
No, it doesn't even. It's not even better than Eldar. It's just weird, different. It's also still too good. Just make them Eldar. The Eldar one works fine.
You just get 6 at the start, and those are your Miracle Dice. That's it. That's all you get.
Yeah. Fuck you. Good luck.
I like it. Actually, don't. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's probably fine. Yeah.
I also don't play that army a ton. So but still, those are the things that seem to be problematic. Sisters are also a lot more reined in team formats in general, because they're even when Sisters fuck your shit up, they get a 14.
Yeah.
So it's not diff kind of helps with them. I'm sure there's lots of I literally can't beat them at all in singles, and then they beat you by 10, and then it was never in doubt, and that's toxic and bad for singles play. But for teams, they're that's not a thing.
Yeah.
But Triumph needs a nerf. Triumph, there's no reason for the Triumph to have gotten that good as compared to the Index version when it was already nearly an auto take in every list.
Yeah.
Bringers just, I don't know, slap it.
Just remove a component of it. Just strip one out. Make
remove the +1 strength.
Yeah, they don't need the +1 strength and advance and shoot. They don't need both of those things. Change the things that get advance and shoot.
Just get rid of assault. Poof. Gone. You can have assault on flamers, maybe.
You make it just flame weapons.
Just
we're bringing the flame,
weapons.
dude.
Torrent weapons get assault. That still doesn't solve the problem of the
+1 strength.
The Seraphim going inches, flaming you and dying.
Yeah, look, that's still too much, but at least the rest doesn't,
Yeah, the rest of the army no longer moves.
So only infantry would be an interesting take on that as well.
Nah, because like that doesn't really change anything, right? I mean,
That
like,
changes the tank mobility.
I'm
Is that
sorry,
where you're currently seeing?
rather than like just making it the torrent weapons.
Yeah.
I think you just make it torrent weapons. You
Only
just make it the
infantry and
flame.
mounted get faction rules back to 8th style. Oh god.
Vehicles
Okay.
don't get faction rules, sure.
That would be
Yeah,
interesting. What army would be screwed the most? Not counting knights because they're not real.
I was going to say knights, and you took away my easy answer right away. Or Soul Forged is the truth, yes.
Yeah, but they're a sub faction. Like
poor Soulforged.
we can give them an exception where like they get their rule because they are, but only.
Stop. This is a dumb thing to think about. Move on.
Yes, yeah. All right. Why don't we do, Jeremy? Do the plugs, and I'll pull up the questions because we've cycled.
If you guys have been
into
listening
just...
to us ramble for the last hour or so, clearly you're enjoying what you're hearing. If you want to check us out you can catch all the rest of our shows, which include Enter the Matrix. I'm not going to forget them this time. They cover team events. We have X and One that will hopefully be returning sometime soon, which is a lot of focus on what would best be described as dad hammer, or being able to balance, having a life and still being good at the game. From there, we also have Take All Comers, who are a group of absolutely wonderful boys who I will always forget at least one of their members, so I'm not going to list them right now. All right. Sorry for the podcasters, but someone just mentioned someone roll 8 dice and get 3 6s for Anthony to come back because Anthony's video just went down. It's fine. He'll be back shortly. So you can check out all of that as well as Champions 40K anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. If you are more interested in seeing our lovely faces, I don't know why, but you can catch us at youtube.com/statcheck. And if you happen to like the stuff that we put together, including the metadata dashboard that we were talking about earlier in the show, check us out at patreon.com/statcheck, which will give you access to our Discord, which, as I realized the other day, has over 600 absolutely wonderful people in there. And then another 60 or so that are, they're okay.
I was going to say, we're at like almost 700 people now, right?
Yeah, it's terrifying. You guys are wonderful. Links are down in the doobly-doo if you want to support us in other ways. We are supported proudly by the Red Dragon out here in Ottawa, Canada. Patrons to get a code for 20% off their entire store. We are also supported by Wayland Yutani. There's a code in the description for discount on their lovely terrain sets that we use at the WTC. We are also sponsored by Saltire Games, and this is home store, I think, or at the very least, very close to him. Absolutely wonderful group there. They do a lot of really awesome tokens and game aids. And if you can't visit him in Scotland, then you should go check out J15 Games on the west coast of the United States, who does a lot of really nice US Open style terrain, as well as some tokens and a really cool Blood God blessings tracker for World Eaters. I think that covers everything. Oh, also we do coaching. I'll be taking a pause in taking on new clients for the next little while, but we have Innes, Typhus Boomba, Nicholas Olsen Johnson, and damn it, I always do this. Tyler?
I think Tyler does it too.
I'm pretty sure it's Tyler. And I'm pretty sure it's always Tyler's name that I forget, so I'm sorry, Tyler.
And then the only other thing, one of the last Patreon benefits before we talk about being able to ask questions, is you get access to stuff like the Vibe Check League, which we're about to start running in the next couple weeks. So the start date for that is roughly September 30th. And it will be 6 rounds of TTS-based 40K with a first place being $150 of store credit to Red Dragon. There will also be raffle entries for everybody who plays 6 games at $50 a piece. Go and join the Vibe Check League. And then, yes, also check out Innes Wilson's new content. He's not here tonight, probably because he's recording some new form of content.
He said he has a coaching call.
Yeah, that's a new form of content. And it's produced one of the, I think, most beloved things we've put up recently, which is the winning a major with GSC video, which talks about everything. So Innes is doing those. And then he also produced another thing that I haven't looked at yet, but you should go check out on our YouTube page. Check out some of the individual content that Innes is making.
Yeah, so the individual series that Innes kicked off is called Beyond the Basics. So it focuses on, each episode is going to focus on a specific section of the game. So the first episode out is pregame, questions that you should be asking. So the idea of you walked up the table, you've never played against a particular army, or you're a little bit rusty against it, and he goes through the breakdown of what you should be asking your opponent, what you need to be kind of committing to memory to, in a sense, so that you can engage with that game as meaningfully and as successfully as possible.
And then the way to get questions answered, because that's what we're going to talk about doing now, is you either super chat them by giving some money, or you join our Patreon and you ask them in the thread. Most people actually asked in the appropriate place this week, and I'm very proud of all of you for being able to follow basic instructions. Otherwise, if I see a YouTube question and I think it's really good, I'll add it. But otherwise, if you ask a YouTube question, you are basically playing roulette with your question and hoping that I notice it. And those are the ones that I cull first if there are a lot. And earlier when I looked at the questions thread, there were only 7, and now there are 28 fucking messages in it. So yeah, we're going to be answering questions for a little bit. That's also why I pushed us to do questions. The first question is from Tom H., which is, why doesn't Innes love us? I mean, Innes loves all 3 of us. I can't say why he doesn't love any of you.
Don't worry, he's gone to get smokes. He'll be back.
For it. I mean, we're not wrong. The next one is, okay, could you explain that page a bit and why it appears so different from what regular stats seem to suggest? I think he's talking about
the peer v peer quadrant on the metadata dashboard. So the peer v peer quadrant basically breaks down the game into effectively 4 groups of people, where you're looking at oh, you hurt Ayer's feelings. How could you?
I know. I hurt either his eyes or his ears. I don't know.
Anyway, so the
I'm just enjoying breaking Anthony quietly, sitting there trying to have a snack on the stream.
It's beautiful.
Stupid shit.
Let me eat my ice cream in peace,
I was
Nathan.
going to say, that looks like a very delicious bit of ice cream. So the peer v peer quadrants, they are an interesting take, but basically what they are is they're looking at the bottom 25% of ELO and the top 25% of ELO by percentiles. And so you do get a little bit of weird results in there. Namely, the top 25% tend to play a lot more games than the bottom 25%. Because this percentile is just based on the total sum of ranks, not by game activities. That's something that we've been talking about, maybe tweaking a little bit. It's an interesting tool. I don't necessarily think that you can draw like great conclusions from it, aside from, oh, that's interesting how when you look at like new players into each other, I think Drukhari was like one of the best of them. And then when you look at like the top players into other, Drukhari kind of starts to fall off. And I wonder why that is. Anthony just kind of shaking his head like, I know why. Yeah, that's basically what it comes down to. That is that like the sample sizes get a little weird.
Yeah. All right. The next question is from Rickard, which is, what's some game design real estate you all feel could be explored with detachments?
What do you mean? What?
He's talking about like, every army has an uppy downy, every army has this. What other things like could they be exploring when it comes to detachment design?
Oh.
I think, and I'm gonna get mildly lynched for this, I think a little bit more of, best way of putting it would be synergy between different types of units within a dex. Like and I know that this often comes down to jump through 3 hoops and then you actually get your army roll, but something along those lines where it incentivizes a bit more diversity in list building rather than take 3 of cheapest thing.
I mean, that's what the detachments are supposed to do now, right? Or encourage you to take different units. The problem is you just like, that's not what we do. We don't like want to play a detachment and then take the units it tells us to. We like look at units that are good and take the detachments that support them.
I will say I kind of miss things like the old power from pain rules and stuff like that, where it was like a progressive army rule set instead of like something else where you got
the old blood tithe.
Yeah, where you got progressively better buffs over the course of the game. I think we instead have seen that turn into mostly people getting doctrines, which I don't like as much. I think
like where you get one thing you can use once per game.
Yeah, I think I kind of prefer 5 small stacking buffs where you got like +1 to hit, and then you got your 5-up invuln, and then you got something else, and then
Maybe just
eventually
quietly skipping advance and charge.
Yeah,
being
just
on two.
quietly just skipping advance and charge on turn 2 because we don't necessarily need that coming back right away. But
I think
I think
Jakari would
there's
be
like
fine with that right now, right?
But
I think it
they
would
could
be
print
fine.
9th power from pain into the index and it would still only be okay. So let's not get too carried away.
But yeah, I think something's like that. I think there's some more stuff that could be explored even for Nurgle with something like that, where it's like disease gets bigger kind of stuff and things like that.
Oh, you mean like a contagion style system?
No, not like that one.
This
was
thing
thinking
gets
more-
bigger every round.
Yeah, I was thinking more like what they get in Total War Warhammer 3, where it's like kind of a life cycle type thing.
That's what they have in Sigmar.
Yep. All right. The next question is from Keaton B. Guesses for faction/units that get hit with a buff or nerf that definitely doesn't need it. It's going to be Custodies somehow. Custodies are going to take
Custodians
like
are going to
a
get buffed
nerf.
even though they don't need it.
They're going to either get a buff that they don't need to Wardens, or they're going to get a nerf that they don't need to Wardens.
I think, yeah, that's probably it. I think Jakari will get a nerf they don't need.
Venoms to toughness 3.
I would hope it's just points, but the Venom's toughness might as well be 3 for what it's worth. It like does not matter. If a Venom is visible, it's gone.
When you compare them to pretty much any other vehicle in the game, yes.
Dude, it's crazy.
Right. The other likely recipient of one is probably T-Sun's getting a compensation buff because they are going to get a nerf, and then they're going to get a compensation buff off the other end of it.
I mean, that's what they did the last update, and it
Don't.
was just like, why? Why did you make Mutalisk 150 points and also reduce the cost on like all my sorcerers?
I'm like preemptively sad for the slate to not be enough.
Innes has a question.
No, we're skipping Innes's question.
Oh, we're skipping Innes's question. Okay.
If he wants his question to be answered, he can be on the show.
Boom.
Logan has a question. Man, we answer Typhus's questions all the time.
Yeah, but Typhus isn't on this show normally.
True. He could be if he wanted to be. I don't know. Logan asks a question: is there a fluffy detachment that is competitively viable while also nailing the thematic, or one that's very close with very few buffs?
I mean, the Chaos Cults one. Most of the Chaos stuff is pretty.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, all the CSM ones are like,
very flavorful.
Yeah, and like most of them are functional. Fellhammer blows, but whatever.
I was gonna say competitively viable was the question, not functional.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I will say, like, some of the other ones are flavorful. I actually do think Sky Splinter is flavorful. It all depends on transports, and that's very flavorful for Drukhari.
Yeah, and Drukhari never do shit in the books, and it's like basically the same when you play that detachment.
I'm also just enjoying listening to Anthony be sad about it. I won't lie.
Army makes me pissed.
And then the second question is
after the recent changes, yeah.
Yes,
I would
the reworked guard since Pariah actually very much feel that way.
Oh, they're doing their job.
I think the follow-up question from Logan is also really good, which is it better to be bland and competitive or thematically cool and not competitive? It's definitely better to be bland and competitive.
The answer is literally always competitive. This is like...
Yeah.
I was going to say it depends on what you want to do, but for this show, bland and competitive.
The context of like even... just like anyone that plays the game of 40K.
I don't know, you can play Crusade and you don't care about winning.
Fuck you. That's not even true among Crusade players.
I mean, yes, it's actually less true among Crusade players than tournament attendees.
Yeah, that's not even a little bit a thing. No one gives a fuck about how like fucking cool their 8-step combo was until they lose to, Billy Bob Casual A loses to B and he's still
this is a power level 9 deck.
Uh-huh.
Isn't that the highest level deck though, power level 9?
Yeah. I have no idea.
Sorry. All right. Next question. I agree with Anthony wholeheartedly, by the way. It's better to be bland and competitive. Also, like, there's levels of bland. Let's be honest. There's
nothing in 40k that's good right now is particularly bland.
All right. Like,
Mainly 'cause it
even
usually
Bringers of
kills
Flame
everything.
has really characterful shit in it. Like,
No. Bringers
Oh,
of
it
Flame
does.
is the Salamander's detachment, but with good data sheets.
I mean,
yeah,
it
but
didn't
also
even
with
try.
an army that loves flamers even
Yeah,
more than
it
Salamanders.
works. Yeah, it makes
Like-
like the Melta stuff better by a
If the
noticeable
Salamander's
margin.
detachment didn't exist, I would agree.
But it doesn't matter that someone else has a flavorful thing; they do too. Two people can have a flavorful thing.
It's true. Two people could be more
Maybe
than
if
one
they were
thing.
worded slightly differently.
Why does that
No.
matter?
Because it's lazy.
Okay. Jason Keffer has the next question, which is, oh my gosh. How do you determine who's the beatdown? What factors in army list, positioning, terrain, etc.? What are the things you look for in similar armies that would swing in it one way or another? And what list building decisions do you make to establish yourself as one or the other? That is like an article, but how do you establish yourself as who's the beatdown in 40k in kind of like an elevator pitch fashion?
It's literally just who went first in Pariah. It does not matter. Basically, nothing else matters.
Generally, yeah.
Like, unless your opponent somehow went second and forgot to write their list to be able to do secret missions, at which point you should probably win that game no matter what, because your opponent's not writing a particularly competitive list, then, then maybe. But in a world with secret missions, it's just like whoever went first has to be able to stop them if they would like to win. So get on and do it.
And then how do you kind of design a list to make sure you can take advantage of turn one, essentially going first?
You play armies with scout and infiltrate and really good staging to turn enemies into ash. You play on shit terrain, you play Imperial Knights, and you shoot them in the face.
I mean, then we kind of answered Jason's second question earlier when we were talking about the going first versus going second advantage. And then why the two of you have higher go first, or Jeremy and Innes rather have higher win rates going first than second.
Yeah, they're playing things that, allow them to do better when going first.
All right. Brendan
Also just generally play armies that like giving people problems. So
McWhirp has another question, which is with Bringers of Flames winning another 3 events with a fourth 5-0. Is it the detachment that's a problem, or sisters in general? I guess this
it's
is
sisters
kind of
in general. There's no question about that.
Yeah,
Because you look at the other 3 detachments, and whenever they are played, they do exceptionally well as well. In addition, so
you could do most of what Bringers are doing in the other detachments. Bringers just does it best. This is the same thing that I was saying before, where we're like competitive 40k players as a whole, and this is like a thing that competitive players do correctly, is that they don't pick a detachment and then put units in it that are good. They look at units that are good, and then you just pick the detachment that makes them work best. And that is what's happening with Bringers.
The next question is from Geared. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but
it's just gear.
D is his last
Gear.
name.
Yeah. Got it. Gear. All right. They're really just asking what the problem was with faction secondaries and why was it bad to have that additional asymmetry.
Oh, I think faction secondaries were a stellar addition to the game, and their absence is fucking us. But
I think they were horrible because there was nothing worse than walking up to a sisters player who had already penciled 97 on their sheet.
Yeah, I mean, if they did that, you just hit them in the mouth and then they lost. Like, that was very stoppable. Faction secondaries were infinitely easier to stop than, like, secret missions are, as an example.
Yeah, but that's a different thing entirely.
But secret faction secondaries at least gave you a reason to play a given way, right? And it usually lined up with what your book was telling you to do already. So faction secondaries were awesome, like down the key.
But if they lined up with what the book was telling you to say anyways, then there was no strategy to that. You just plugged that in and said, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, but at least armies got to play in ways that lined up with what their army was good at, right? Which of the tactical deck is Death Guard better at than Eldar?
None of it, but we can balance that in other ways.
Interesting.
I actually agree with Anthony that I kind of miss faction secondaries, particularly because they helped you drive the way that like an army is
for one,
play.
And talking to the two people who I don't misheard the prey.
No, I don't. I played Nids for most of 9th.
What I do think though,
who both were shit at it.
And World Eaters.
World Eaters were good at it, but I only played them for like 2 months.
You probably end up having to play
for 2 months.
played in a way where it's like you have to play them fixed or you have to like cycle them into the deck somehow. I don't know how you integrate that into the tactical deck situation that we're currently in, though. That's a design space question that I don't think I can answer. All right.
Yeah.
Next question.
Maybe they can be done better. I just don't like how they were done in the past.
I
That's
mean,
fair.
what they were doing in the past is much better than what we have now, which is elves are the best army in the game until they aren't, and then it's sisters.
Which are just elves, but slightly different. If points for the two units stay the same, do you see single navigators replacing infiltrators as the source of 12-inch deny for Marines? Or do infiltrators cover too much board to warrant the point savings by switching? This is a question from Frank.
Infiltrators are better than navigators because they're a 5-man unit for not 5 times more points. And all
Yeah.
you're looking for is
And also, they don't give up assassinate when your opponent does get the drop on them.
Yeah.
The next question is from Garan. Actually, it's just a statement. I'm going to say it because Innes is apparently listening to this whole thing, which is love beyond the basics. Would love to see Anthony do a deep dive on World Eaters. There you go, Anthony.
The odds that I make pre-recorded content are very low, but not impossible.
We need to get you and Innes in a room, and he guides you.
It's not that I don't like necessarily want to. It's that I don't have time to.
No, that's what I mean. Innes drags you into the room, puts a microphone in front of you, and tells Anna he'll be back later.
Yeah, that might work.
The next question is from Bobby, which is my question for all the hosts, even Innes, when he chooses to return. With Innes' success with the GSC a few weeks back, is there hope that any faction, regardless of toilet level win rate, can be taken and win at any given super level GT in the current meta? What does that take and why?
I think someone at Innes' skill level probably could take any army and do it, but
I don't think that's true. I think GSC were just better than we were doing.
Everyone but orcs can do it, says Innes.
I don't think that's true. I think there's decent odds that current orcs could win a big event right now. I think that, again, these are like factions that are better than they are being given credit for, that are suffering from competitive abandonment.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that any faction really can't for it and do it.
I mean, every faction has one except orcs, so the proof is that any faction can in fact win at least a GT size level event, and orcs just need somebody to pick the faction up and play a singles event who's like a bigger player.
I mean,
perhaps.
well, we're talking about like a super level GT, right? That was what he said. Like, I'm assuming that means like a super major. I do not think that all factions are currently capable of winning a super major. That I just don't think that's true. I think that any given Sunday at a 28-person GT in Pariah, shit, most things can get it done then, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, supers also require like, I don't know, you need to get some luck in your pairings process getting through that whole tournament in order to win with it in the first place. There's perhaps a path where you could win it with any faction, but it would require that win path to like work out really well, right?
Yeah,
if you get lucky, it's possible.
It's hard enough to do it in and of itself. The reason we don't see faction wins with every faction is because the people that are in the position to win the events already are trying to give themselves the best possible ability to do so, and that does not line up with the fucking rainbows and unicorns world where everyone just plays the faction they like.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm saying that I think that a player of Innes' skill could take almost any army and do it.
Yeah.
I don't think that your average GT winner could do that.
Yeah, I agree.
The second question from Bobby is, do added bashes and particle effects on models count for drawing line of sight? Example, I added the gunfire to my exocrine. Definitely not. Please don't do that.
Yeah, don't count line
of sight. Please don't fuck around with that. That sounds like modeling for advantage, and I would like for you to not do that.
I'm assuming Bobby's saying like people shooting him, but
yeah. If you don't use it to draw line of sight, like this is a two-way street with this modeling purposes, guys.
Yeah. I'm not going to use this for line of sight. You won't use this for line of sight. We good? We good.
Yeah.
I had this exact discussion at an event recently where we had a knight player who had a beautifully modeled knight's army that had smoke coming out of all of them, which meant that he stuck up above 3-story ruins. And we went, I know how tall those models actually are. You can hide back there. I'm not even going to argue this with you.
Yeah. Don't just like explain to your opponent like that it's not part of the model. It's just there to look cool, and explain to them how that works back and forth. Like, you just want that back and forth to be even at the beginning of the game. And if somebody pushes you and is like, well, I'm going to draw line of sight to it, then bring a judge over and have a judge help you out. Like, if it's obvious where the delineation between the bit of stuff and the model should be from a line of sight drawing perspective, it's a really easy call to make.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Henry the Wizard has the next question. Do you think points or even some rules updates will revitalize the current state of the game? Or do changes need to be made to the Pariah Nexus format regarding problems like low scoring and secret missions in order to fix it?
I would pay a low 4-digit number for GW to not touch armies at all this change and just fucking work on the missions for 3 months, but I know that that's not going to happen.
I think you could do it in either of the two ways, but I think it would be better for the overall game state for them to work on missions and the format from Pariah Nexus rather than...
It just like the army balance is like close enough that it's fine at this point. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of problematic shit that I would like to see fixed, but you really like, you're going to be swinging at the wrong things because the missions are fucked. Literally, it came up before. Like, people were like, we need to nerf Grey Knights and Hypercrypt and shit. And it's like, no, you don't. Just secret missions are fucked up. So just change that. And then those armies don't need to be changed at all.
The next question is from Sam. Now that you're in the final days of Champions Cup, what is the stat check team doing in terms of prep for the event? Any last minute analysis or review of matrices?
Currently panicking because Typhus doesn't have his army.
I mean, that'll be an easy resolution. I'm not even worried about that.
I'm not actually, but
yeah. I mean, we went over our round one pretty heavily. That's kind of it. That's all you really can do, right? It's you go over you make sure you have matrices for all like the other top teams. You look at, your round one with as much lead time as you can. You take a look at the boards, you kind of double check stuff, and you go from there.
Yep. Put a bit of practice into the matchups that you might be a little unfamiliar with, if that's the case for you. And
yeah, if you've played something other than the same army for an actual full year.
It's not like I've played the 4th army in as many months, so.
All right. The next question is from Sean. Or no, actually, it is not. It's from Paul, which is not a question. Oh, for fuck's sake, no. Sean.
Intentionally.
I had in my brain. And then, Sean, we know about pickles, but do the other hosts have pets? How do you avoid getting pet hair embedded in your models during painting?
He beat me to the punch.
And I know
Anthony's answer is just getting commission painted.
The key for me is that there's nowhere for my cats to fit on my hobby space, so they cannot get up there.
Oh, you'd be amazed. My little piece of shit black cat Logan, who I love dearly. Many people have seen him on the cast in the past. He loves just rummaging around my poppy desk when I'm not there, even though he knows he's not supposed to be up there. We will have a chirp fest where if I walk into the room and see him there, I'll say Logan, and he'll just chirp at me. So he knows he's doing something wrong. He'll knock models off the poppy table regularly. It's just a matter of life. You try to shoo them away when you're painting and you seal them, and then after that, cat hair just gets places.
That's also true. Cat hair does just get places. I have 2 cats, as an aside. There's a cat tree right behind me. I have cats. Sometimes they'll be on the show. I think one of them actually is on the show. Yep, Jameson's in his hut.
Jameson, nice.
Yep, they're Jameson and Bailey. If you can figure out the theme, you get a gold star.
College suffering?
You're not wrong. All right, the next question is from Keaton. Aside from the big nerfs to the only good detachments, could secret missions be another big part of orc suffering? They're a big primary/melee pressure army that sort of dies off in droves after the WA ends. Are the comeback mechanics of Pariah too good for orcs to succeed?
I mean, it's probably not helping, but I don't think that's really the problem.
That's probably a part of it.
Maybe. As orcs, you should be winning like well before that point, and it shouldn't come up.
Hold opponent primary down. Oh no, they tabled me in secret missions.
No, I mean like you kill the enemy, and then dead models don't score points, and then you win. They can do that. It just, got to be real good at it.
The next question is from Davlos, which is, what if the roadmap is 100% accurate and there is no balance patch until December. I actually did not see that there was no balance patch until December.
They just didn't mention it in there because that's a competitive faction. That's a competitive focus, not a general game focus.
That's fair.
And also, they haven't deviated from their schedule once this edition. Well, there was a slight move up the June one, so it aligns with Pariah, but that was to be expected.
The next question is from Ben F, which is there any reason to use battle cannons instead of auto cannons on castigators?
Yeah, if you're not playing bringers.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, because why is that cannon rapid fire 4?
Who cares? The battle cannon's better again, literally the rest of the time.
Yeah, but if the autocannon was only rapid fire 2, then the battle cannon would come up more often in bringers.
It would just always be better then.
Twin link is nice.
I usually see people take battle cannons though. Somebody will take like 2 battle cannons and 1 rapid fire autocannon version.
Or no, it's usually 3 autocannons when they have 3 immolators, because the immolators give you ignore cover anyway.
Oh, that's fair. I guess I'm too used to seeing it being like 1 and 2.
And a reliable 8 shots is
pretty good.
True. Again, we're not answering Innis's questions on the air, is what I've been told. So I'm going to move on to Ben F's second question, which is Chaos Knights. Their win rate is pretty low, but are they good for teams or nah?
They're not bad. They're fine.
They're fine for teams.
You need the problem with Chaos Knights is you need a good patient pilot, and the overlap of people that are patient and the people that play Chaos Knights might as well be 2 separate circles. So
I've seen our Discord's faction channel for Chaos Knights. There is 100% zero chill or patience in the factions players.
Exactly, Lucas, and that's the only person I've ever seen play them patiently.
And Alice.
Possible. I've never seen her do that. So
she is your moniker up here. So
yeah.
All right, and then the next question is from Eric Cultus-chan, which is, what are the conditions under which we actually call the game good? It feels like there being no S-tier armies, comparatively few absolute trash armies, and a pretty decent chance for most any army to win a GT, along with 50-ish% win rates is kind of the goal of balance. And then there's some secret mission stuff after that I'm going to stop there. If balanced isn't good, what is good? I guess is the last part of it.
I mean, no, you have to include the bit about Typhus, who said this is the most balanced the game has been, and I fucking hate it.
I mean, if the thing you said was true, then the game would be pretty good. But the thing you said isn't fucking true. So it doesn't apply right now then, does it?
I mean, the game is like the most balanced it feels like in 10th edition. Yeah. But it can also be boring. Like the game can also be boring to play. Like something can be balanced but also boring. And the problem can be if the play is boring, then like it's
it's worth separating these two things, right? Like the game from an army balance perspective is somewhat balanced. If and only if you you don't include what secret missions do to things. That's where shit goes off the fucking rails. And even with them in there, it's not that bad. Like army to army comparisons, you can usually keep things pretty manageable. The missions are what needs to change.
Yeah.
But the idea that there's no S-tier armies right now is fucking laughable.
All right. And then Chris Polly has the next question, which is, I've heard you mention in the past talk about being able to take 2 Space Marines for events such as WTC. Would you be okay with locking them to their own index/codex to be able to take more than 1 Space Marine?
No, because that would basically just open up Black Templars and Space Wolves.
Also, you would have 5. You would have had legit argument to take 4 Space Marine armies this year, and that's stupid.
Yeah, because you could have done Blood Angels, Templars, and probably Gladius DA.
Yeah. Or you could have taken Iron Storm and taken like... I mean, there's like a half decent shot that like Inner Circle with like Deathwing Knights is still better than like Army 7 on your roster. It might not be better than Army 5, but like still. Yeah, you think about it.
Davalos has a question, which is, what do you do as a judge if a player rolls up with sus dice, which lets Angron come back like 3 times per game?
I know what this is in reference to, and it's quite simple, that if you think that your opponent's dice are suspect, you tell the judge, and the judge will address it. How I would handle it is I would take them, and I'd be like, hey, where'd you get these? Do you mind if I roll them for a little bit? And I'm going to give you these dice to play with in the meantime.
Yeah, like I would just roll those dice, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
and it
sometimes
also wouldn't be like I would roll them and then give them back to me right away. I'd be like, you can play this game with these dice, and they protest and be like, look, your components are complaining. You can tell them that they have to use your dice as well.
I mean, I would just like I wouldn't even get a judge involved for this. I would just be like, hey, I'm gonna use these two, and then you
If
just
they
move
say no
on.
at that point, that's when you go.
Yeah, then you get a judge involved. But like, if you're just like, if you think something's sus, just also use them. Otherwise, this question comes across as salt.
Yeah. I mean, in that situation, I think the best idea is to be like, hey, can I also roll those dice? And that will give you a lot of information about what's going on.
That's all you need to do.
It'll give you some information. And the reason that I'm saying this is that there are still some people who are superstitious or germaphobes or concerned about sharing dice for whatever reason there is.
Yep.
And it can be difficult to determine which one of those are. However, if they say no, you can go, hey, I'm just going to get a judge and I'm going to ask for them to resolve this for us because I don't like what your dice are doing right now.
Yeah, I just like get someone to float test them. Like, it's not that crazy.
Yeah,
True.
I mean, I've had to do it at an event where someone was like, "Hey, these dice look suspect," and I looked at them and went, "Oh, those are official GW store dice. Let me roll them a few times." And I rolled them and I went, "No, these dice suck."
I did have somebody do that to me as well. They handed me some dice and were like, "This seems cooked to me," and I'm like, "They do feel a little funny when in my hand, but they roll like a distribution." So it
Yeah,
seems
the
fine.
only two sets of dice that I have ever genuinely said these are a problem are squig dice, but we know those are a meme, and
These
Team
guys?
Germany's dice this year.
Yeah,
Yes.
those dice.
You
The
got
squig
that
dice.
from Ollie, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, I have mine from him as well.
I mean, I'll tell. So Kelly, in response to official GW dice are imbalanced. All dice, unless you get very specific gravity dice and stuff like that, are imbalanced.
Also,
And even
then you
gravity
need
dice
to-
can be considered imbalanced because they don't roll the way that you would roll dice normally at an event.
That's fair.
Like the example of casino dice being perfectly balanced. Yes, but casino dice are perfectly balanced for craps where you were throwing them against the wall.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
I mean, the black stat check dice have historically rolled extremely well for me.
Horribly for me. So
Oh, that's funny. That was how I made like every single 5-up feel no pain for some stuff, but neither here nor there. All right. Next question is from McWirt. Why don't all Codex compliant Space Marine players just play TAC Marines, Rhinos, Devastators, and Van Vats like the King who top Ford this week? Seems like an easy way to get results to me.
I mean, if
This feels like a.
if
Sorry,
all
go ahead.
Codex compliant players could play in the same meta as that guy and be equally as good as that guy, I'm sure they would get the same results with those units. But unfortunately, that's not how the game is played.
And then the last question from the Discord chat is actually an image, so I'm going to see if I can find a way to share it. I guess
it's
somebody
the endless
wants.
loop of Chaos Knights.
Yeah, I'm going to share it. Give me a second. We're going to share it. Here it is. All right. I don't care if you all see that I'm in 500 trillion Discords. I bring Big Knight. I lose. I play all hogs. I get bored. What is our response to this graph?
I mean,
Well,
I
that
think you
looks
should be
real.
playing Chaos Knights. If you want to play Big Knights, play Imperial Knights.
I mean, if you want to win games of Warhammer, don't be upset and while you're playing something Knights.
It's reasonable. I think it's good to have the expectation and understanding that your faction is maybe in the bottom third to bottom 10th.
Like, they're just not very good. You're like the person posing this question is like a high level player playing at War Masters. Yeah, man, you're gonna lose some of those fucking games, bro. You're playing a bad army.
So I'm going to call Dick out on this because he said I was very surprised at a lot of big Chaos Knights doing well, aka better than me at War Masters. And I was like, maybe
Yeah,
that is better suited.
Yeah,
I'm
they're
gonna
just
stop
not
sharing this now.
very good. Like, I don't know. This is like, we see this a lot, you know? People complain about things when they're not playing the best thing, and it's like kind of hard to take them seriously. It's like when people complain while they're playing Pen Host. It's like, what are you doing? You're playing the bad one on purpose. It's more fun. It's not as good. Shut up. Could it be better? Probably. It's not going to be for a while, though. Just be cool. Are you still winning? All right, ball out, King. Go get him.
I will say that this is my favorite thing I've heard recently.
Either way.
Yeah.
Dicky.
From
All my
Dicky,
stats,
which is
cards and stats edge sleeves always give me the perfect secondary. I think you've stolen my luck because I am constantly drawing sabotage and assets turn one.
All cards are good when your opponent is dead.
And then we'll go through super chats next, and then That's going to be it, guys. I'm not doing any more after this. This is breaking my soul a little. Innes, thank you for the 2 British pounds for Hi Anthony for what play me invitational GT question.
Oh no, I said I was going to answer this later, and then forgot to think about it.
We said it works. Brian's
Iron
Orcs.
Storm. Oh yeah, or Brian's Orcs.
Brian's Orcs.
Brian's
is my
Orcs the
vote.
right answer.
Brian's Orcs is Iron Storm, which means he has to play Dread Mob.
No.
Ooh.
Oh, that would be awesome. But Brian's Orcs, whatever he's playing for LGT, even whatever you want. But it has to be comboed with the same day that Seth makes you be nice about Orcs.
Yeah.
That's actually the only situation in which Innes has to play
And
Orcs.
the best part is,
Those two
Seth
things
can
get
even tell you in person this weekend that that's what you have to do.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Mm.
But otherwise, I think you should play Iron Storm.
Okay. The next one is from Paul Botello. Thank you for the $1.99. What's your best guess for how GW will nerf T-Suns?
I don't have
probably.
one. I don't think they will.
I think that they'll make Sorcerers, Infernal Masters, and Magnus more expensive.
Probably.
I think that they'll make it so that you can, play with like 16 or 17 Cabal points instead of like 20 or 21.
I think you'll probably still be able to play with 21 when that story's
You-
over, but
You probably will still be able to, but it'll be a much lighter list.
I guess we'll see.
If the average list goes up by like 250 points, then that does it.
It just won't. It's not even going to go up close to that. If it goes up half that much, I'll give you $50 the next time I see you.
Okay. I accept this bet. I'm going to write it down.
I'm worried about when the next time I'm going to see you is after that, though.
The next question is from Ben McJurek. Would you play in a 22 versus 22 man team event?
No.
That sounds horrible. I would play in a 22 versus 22 show match.
Nope.
Because that could be fun. Pairings automated. Don't think about it. Just go and play a game. That's it.
No, that's the best part of teams.
I know it
What?
is, but can you imagine how long the pairings would take in a 22v22?
Yeah, we're signing up for something that's stupid.
That's why I said show match. It might work.
All right. The next one is actually the next 2 are from Gus Fritz. Thank you for the $3 to ask how would you make Cohort Cybernetica playable?
All Castellan robots get fights first, and they get a 2-up save against shooting. Do they already have a 2-up?
I think they have a 2-up base.
If they have a 2-up base, they get Armor of Contempt.
Ooh.
Always.
They used to
I
have
like
that.
it. All right. And then the last question from Gus, which thank you for the $5 super chat for the last question, is you mentioned building a list to score secret missions. Could you elaborate a bit on what you look for at list building to ensure that?
The ability
Warlord
to
you can shove on your opponent's home reliably, T-Suns. Battle line that you can uppy downy and shove into your opponent's deployment zone, or the ability to hold 3 objectives at the end of the game.
Yeah, any of those work.
The last one doesn't exist, and you should never try to take it.
That's not true. It works sometimes. But I've had it work against me.
Awkward.
Sometimes you die. I still won, but like,
By the way, if someone wants to look at something very interesting, because the discussion about secret missions come up, Goonhammer tracks everything through tabletop battles, and they do publish this data intermittently. One of the things and the most recent update was actually this week. Take a guess. This is in tabletop battles across 25,000 games in the Pariah set. How many games command insertion, which is the warlord on home objective and control it, was chosen?
5%.
2.5.
Okay.
How often was it successful?
1%.
2/3 of the time.
Oh, that's
shit.
good.
So when it gets picked, it's successful 2/3 of the time. Now, here's the really fun question. What is its success rate at winning?
I have no idea. I would never use that one. That's such a bad one to use. Why would you use that one?
Well, no. So this is Warlord on home. This is the T-Suns one. It's fucking
I don't
amazing.
know. I feel like most of the time I would just do the battle line one or the hold 3 objectives one. That's usually what happens in the games that I play.
That works too. I mean, your army has like 1 battle line unit in it.
My army has 5 battle line units in it.
Oh yeah, forgetting Jackal's battle line.
4. Sorry.
Cultist aren't.
Cultists are battle line.
No, they're not.
Maybe not in your shit book.
Anyways, all right. So then, okay, let's look at Unbroken Wall.
I mean, wait, what was the win rate for the succeeding
33%.
Okay.
And that's if you successfully did it.
Yep.
So a third of the time you've done this right, and it's being picked in 3% of games, it's successful 2/3 of the time, and then an additional third of the times it actually wins you the game.
Yep.
Unbroken Wall, which is the Control 3 in No Man's Land, pick
Yep.
rate is less than 2%, about 1 3/4. 58% of the time it's successful.
That's very high.
And 36% of the time it wins the game.
Nice.
When it's successful. My favorite part about this, though, is Shatter Cohesion has the highest win rate when you fail it.
I mean,
because you're usually taking it when your opponent is nearly tabled anyways.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I guess.
And so you are more likely to just win the game anyways because your opponent doesn't exist, even if you fail because one idiot unit stayed alive on an objective.
Yeah, I guess.
That does make sense.
It's also a 5% success rate when you fail the mission. So
that feels like very poor play to be taking that in those scenarios. But
War of Attrition is also War of Attrition, which is the battle line one, is the second most successful one, right in between Unbroken Wall and Command Insertion.
Yeah, that sounds right. The battle line one's super fucking easy.
It's also the least one that is likely to win you the game if you have successfully done it.
Yeah. I would believe that enough people are bad enough at this game to lose while succeeding in their secret mission. I believe that is possible. But I just think that the warping of what they do goes well past the
I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
The by far my favorite one, though, is the difference between fixed and tactical.
Holy shit, fixed is bad right now.
Drukhari basically score the same, whether they go fixed or tactical. That makes sense, because they can play both well, even with fixed being shit. Eldari, similar. Thousand Sons, similar.
I'm sure it's
where things get really, really funny is with Grey Knights versus where they score on average 7 points more than with when they go fixed instead of tactical.
Yeah, that's weird. Even for them, it's like kind of trolling, but
then you have Sisters where it's the exact opposite.
Yep.
Where they will score on average 6 points more if they go tactical than fixed. Anyways, that's your lovely little end of show stats. Nathan, you want to sign us off after doing the High Five Club?
Yep. All right. So the last benefit you can get from Patreon, and I know everybody loves to hear about them, is you get to join the Cult of the High Five for $15 a month, where I will say some random bullshit that you have put here on air for you for funsies. And then you also get some in-person benefits like high fives and stuff like that. You can also get Kiri looking disappointing at you and saying, are you sure you know how that works? Or are you sure that's how that works? In person. So there you go. You can also get challenge coins, although I don't give those out to anybody, really. I won't lie.
I need another one from you, by the way, because Dan now has mine.
Ah, shit. Fine.
So
I don't
bring
know how
another
I'm
one
going
to Tampa if you don't mind.
I'll bring a bag of them to Tampa. So yeah, if you see me at Tampa, I'll probably have a bag of them with me that you can purloin off me, I guess, by being nice. But you get called out on the show, thanked for all the additional support that you give us alongside those in-person benefits. All right. So thank you to the Cult of the High Five members. Christopher has officially left Scotland for England Irvine. Congratulations, Chris, on the new job in England. Thank you to Willow Weeks. Thank you to Dan F. Thank you to Luke, Dan F. McCarthy. Thank you to David. Our names may be forgotten and our bones crumble to dust, but our deaths will echo through the millennia to come. Clark. Thank you to, I keep forgetting to edit this, but it's me. Thanks, me. You're welcome. Baby Cakes. Thank you, James H. Thank you, Colton. Dan F. Miller. Thank you, Fungus. Thank you, John. I just found out about a Swedish hair metal song that was similar to We Are the World, and I don't know how to feel about it. V8 Gang, vroom vroom. Thank you to Cam, F. Dan, Morton, hog emoji. Thank you to somebody inserted additional rows. How very naughty. Thank you to Archon. Thunder Emmer says you don't get to call home Rahal. Thank you to Josiah Gattel. Thank you to Faranki Faresh. Thank you to Isaac. Can I paint 20 rubrics before I fly to Champs Cup to Rada? Thank you to Ben. I was the one that kept adding Innis to the list. It's the perfect crime. You'll never catch me. F. Thank you to Thomas. I played a tech priest in a Dark Heresy campaign once, and I accidentally exterminatus to planet Vercoision. Thank you to I'm taking a secret mission. Can you point out all your battle line for me? Thank you. Is this where I write Innis or Dan F? Thank you. I have the concept of a plan, and that is super heavy walkers having a true line of sight at all times. And thank you, Innis. I miss you guys in this silly spreadsheet we got, Wilson, which, I don't actually know if that was Innis who added that, but I like to think that it was Innis who added it. So thank you, everybody, for watching our show. Thank you to everybody who hung out with us for an hour and 45 minutes, 46 seconds, 47 seconds, and so on.
Thank you, Innis, for being amazing. We do love you when we miss you.
We do. Until we see you in person this weekend. Well, some of us will. That's this weekend. Yeah. Everybody have a wonderful night. Look at the various things in the bottom for all the things to be promoted and stuff. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.
Oh, shit. I'm the button, aren't I?